Hello and welcome to the very first 4FanSports Bowl Season Preview. I am Josh Wilson. I'm joined with the other three writers of 4FanSports, Mr. Nick Rapier,
How's it going, fellas?
Mr. Tyler Hobbs,
Puppies.
and Mr. Ryan Potter.
Hello there.
So first things first, we're going to go ahead and just start right off. We're going to talk about the games of the bowl season this year. We're going to cover pretty much every game, and you're going to get our picks for who's going to win what game, and we'll also go into depth about certain other games. We already missed the Gildan, New Mexico Bowl, which was Arizona versus Nevada, with Arizona winning 49-48.
The wild one.
And also, we've missed the famous Idaho Potato Bowl with Utah State beating Toledo 41-15.
That's for only the famous Idaho potatoes were involved. The non-famous Idaho potatoes had to stay home.
Both of which were great games. We all had Utah State and Arizona winning, so it's not that big of a deal.
So we're just going to go down calendar style, boys, and we're going to talk about just what's coming up. First thing, later tonight, on December 20th at 8 p.m. on ESPN, we have the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl, winner of the longest bowl name in the history of the world. And that is going to be San Diego State versus Brigham Young. So, Hobbs, what do you think about this game?
I don't think a lot of it. I don't really know much of either one. I watched BYU once because I was interested to see what Mike Leach was going to do against Washington State, and BYU beat them pretty handily. So with that being said, I'm going to go against BYU and say San Diego State.
I'm also going to go with San Diego State, being that the game is in their hometown, and I do all my banking at San Diego County Credit Union.
Well, a way to throw the plug in there. Well, as we all know, San Diego is German for a whale's vagina. But I'm probably going to hesitate the Fighting Mormons in this game, guys. Mainly because you all took San Diego State.
Well, you know, BYU and San Diego State used to play together in the Mountain West, and they met for, 13 consecutive seasons in league play. But San Diego State left, so now they're going to be meeting in San Diego, and San Diego has been rushing the ball incredible this year. So I'm going to have to actually go, with Potter and Hobbs on this and say San Diego as well. It's basically a home game.
The Fighting Aztecs.
So me and Potter and Hobbs all take San Diego, and Nick takes BYU to be different.
It's San Diego State. There is a University of San Diego. We wouldn't want to confuse people.
I'm sorry, San Diego State. So on December 21st at 7:30, we have the Beef O'Brady's Bowl in St. Petersburg, Florida, featuring UCF, the University of Central Florida, versus Ball State. So, Nick, what do you think about this game?
Well, I'm going to have to go with Ball State, mainly because UCF isn't as good as they are.
A good reason. Potter, what do you got to say?
I'm going to go with UCF because I think that they are better than Ball State. And the reason for that is that UCF plays a tougher schedule, and also they've been better in recent years, and they've been recruiting really well. And Ball State lost to Kent State, which lost to Kentucky.
Hobbs?
Great reason, Potter. I'm also going with UCF because Potter was more convincing than Nick.
Well,
So Florida's Florida, so they have to have better talent than Ball State. So
Ball State
They
is
don't have to.
MAC, and the MAC is short for Mothers.
mediocre American colonials.
Well, to continue our 3-on-1
Unless
match,
we're talking Bernie Mac.
R.I.P. Bernie Mac.
to continue our 3-on-1 bash of Nick Rapier, I'm also picking UCF. UCF is actually the college that my girlfriend just graduated from, and it's right down the street from my house. So I've actually seen them play a couple of times this year, and they're not bad. They're not stellar, which is why they're both playing in the Beef O'Brady's Bowl. Ball State is coming off a 6-game win streak, so they might be riding high. UCF actually just lost in the Conference USA title game in overtime to Tulsa, so I feel like they're going to have something they want to prove, and it is in St. Pete. So it's, again, basically a home game.
All right.
Nice. Are we doing shout-outs to the girlfriends? Is that what we're doing? Hi, babe.
I mean, if EKU was in a bowl game, you could totally shout them out.
Hey, they are in the FCS.
Oh, that's cool. Anyways.
Okay, so next bowl, please.
Next bowl is the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl with Louisiana-Lafayette featuring the Raging Cajuns versus the Pirates of East Carolina on December 22nd. So, Hobbs, what do you think?
Well, I only saw Louisiana-Lafayette play out of the two teams, and they had Florida on the ropes. And Florida had to block a punt and return it for a touchdown as time expired to beat them. So I'm going with East Carolina.
All right, Nick, what do you got?
They never bounced back from that devastating Florida loss.
Well, I took a different thing away from that game. I'm probably going to go with Louisiana-Lafayette, mainly because all the research I've done, I saw in North and South Carolina, but I could not find an East Carolina, so we're going to go with Louisiana-Lafayette just to be on the safe side there.
They do not exist.
Potter, what do you think?
I'm going to also go with Louisiana-Lafayette, if only because they are a frequently discussed team on this podcast, as we discussed them in a previous podcast.
Raging Cajuns.
Shouted out Raging Cajuns. So I'm going to go with them. I believe that they're the more talented team, and I also cannot find East Carolina on a map.
Does that make them the official 4FanSports college team, other than Kentucky, obviously?
They almost have to be.
Well, we'll see what happens if we get any views from Louisiana-Lafayette this week.
Awfully close to beating Florida, something we haven't done. Maybe we should have hired that guy.
I guess unless there's an Italian team that plays college football, then we can't be biased towards them.
Well, boys, I am going to end the 3-on-1 Bash Fest and agree with Mr. Hobbs. I think that East Carolina is going to win this game. There is one thing for sure. Each team is averaging more than 250 passing yards per game this season, and both defenses are among the worst in college football against the pass. So basically, this is going to be a shootout all game long, and I just see East Carolina walking away with the win.
Shout out to Wilson for his research. Job well done.
Hey,
That-
did a little bit as well.
That high-budget stats department that we have here at 4FanSports is really paying off.
Facts are never optional, Hobbs.
Wilson looks up statistics and Nick looks up maps. I like it.
Got to give the readers what they want.
So on December 22nd, we finally have a ranked team playing football. We have the Mako Bowl in Las Vegas, featuring Boise State and Washington. Now, Potter, you love Boise State,
I do.
so you go ahead and break this down for us.
Well, you can't give Chris Peterson, Boise State's coach, this much time to prepare for a game and expect him to lose. It's just not going to happen. I'd also like to note that Utah State played previously, and they are also ranked, so your previous statement was
I was
wrong.
going to burn him on that.
First, as they say in the comments section.
Not our comment section.
Our comment section.
Leave us some dang comments, guys. Anyway, I am also going to take the Boise State guys, Hobbs or Potter. I'm going to agree with you on that, just because I don't know. I don't really have a smart aleck reason for this one. I just think they're going to beat Washington.
Well, I'm also going to take Boise State. Washington is not very good, and they don't have Jake Locker. Jake Locker's not walking through that door. And so Boise State, Chris Peterson, damn good coach. He deserves better than Boise State.
I would have to say on Washington, though, Steve Sarkisian, their head coach, is a really good game planner. So I wouldn't count them out in this game. I just don't think that they're going to beat Boise State. I don't think they have the talent.
Well, here's a lot of interesting things you got to think about with this game here. This game's actually a really interesting matchup for a couple of different reasons. They've only played each other once. It was back in 2007, and Washington walked away with that. They also are going to be opening against each other in the 2013 season on August 31st. So whoever wins will have to defend this game starting next season. The other thing, though, Washington's defensive coordinator is Justin Wilcox. And for all of you out there who know who Justin Wilcox is, the one person, he was the defensive coordinator at Boise State where he first made a name for himself.
Boom.
Bringing the facts today.
All of those connections made, Boise State's going to win the game.
Is that the first unanimous one?
Yep, first unanimous. We're all taking Boise State.
There we go.
Also, nope, that's a different day. Just kidding. 2 days later, also, is the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl, where SMU will play Fresno State. So a big who cares on Christmas Eve. Hobbs, who do you got in this poop bowl?
Let's see here. I am going with Fresno State because Larry Brown is the coach of the basketball team and not the football team. And that's it.
Hobbs bringing some key facts into this podcast. Well,
and SMU is a bunch of cheaters.
There you go. Potter, what do you think?
I really think this will be an exciting game to watch. Southern Methodist under June Jones plays a up-tempo style of football. It's like basketball on turf. It's very exciting to watch. They score a lot of points. And also, June Jones used to coach at Hawaii before he took the Southern Methodist job. I really think they're going to win this one.
I am also going to go with the SMU. I've never been to Sheraton, any Sheraton Inn or hotel, whatever. Never been to Hawaii. Picked Boise State last game, so I figured shouldn't pick the team ending in state again. Just an odds thing. I'll go with SMU.
All right, crazy. I'm going to go with Fresno State. They've been throwing the ball really well this year. They've scored, almost 40 points per game. So I'm going with Fresno State.
But David Carr is not walking through that door, Wilson.
I understand that, but I got nothing for SMU. Sorry about it. All right, moving on. Little Caesars Bowl. Has there ever been a Little Caesars Bowl before?
No, and there shouldn't be.
But
this is the worst pizza in the world. It is. It's the biggest give up of pizzas.
Well,
no rules.
There is no rules. There is no rules. No, Potter, I gotta say, Little Caesars Pizza is pretty terrible, but you can walk right in those bad boys, hand them a $5 bill, and walk out with a pizza, and that's pretty cool.
But
to be fair, here in the great state of Kentucky, it's $5.30.
You can get a better pizza for if you just go to Kroger and then put it in your own oven. It's a lot easier.
And better tasting.
But you don't have to cook it.
And you might not get salmonella from it.
Is it really that hard to read the back of a box and set the oven to the corresponding temperature and then just walk away for 20 minutes and come back and eat?
But is it really that hard to walk into a Little Caesars and literally be handed a pizza?
They don't hand you a pizza, you hand them...
Central Michigan in this game. I don't really know why. Is Willie Taggart coaching in this game? Anybody know?
First of all, the Little Caesars Bowl is Central Michigan versus Western Kentucky in Detroit on December 26th.
Pizza.
Oh. Hobbs, who are you taking again?
Yeah, so Central Michigan.
You're taking Central Michigan. Why?
Because Western barely beat us.
Good point. Quick, what you got?
As I was saying, I do not condone the foul comments made towards the great establishment of Little Caesars Pizza, but I'm also going to go with Central Michigan because I'm not sure if Taggart's coaching or not. He may not be. They know he's not coming back, though, so morale's got to be low in Bowling Green. Actually, got to be pretty high, actually. That was a completely inaccurate statement. I'd say Bobby Petrino. They're pretty excited about that, but not this game. Central Michigan all the way.
And Potter?
I'm also going to go with Central Michigan. You got to pick the team that's going to travel a little bit better to the game and have a little home field advantage. And also, the MAC is still a better conference than the Sun Belt, even though it's a terrible conference.
I'm also going with Central Michigan because they beat Iowa this season.
All right. Iowa's tough.
Well, I mean, Iowa's pretty good.
Iowa is better than UK, Kentucky.
Yeah, Iowa beat
guarantee it.
Illinois.
Well, okay then.
Yeah. So there's that.
Hard-hitting journalism, folks.
In another great bowl that doesn't really make any sense, we have the Military Bowl, presented by the Northrop Grumman in Washington, D.C. on December 27th. And in the Military Bowl, for some reason, is San Jose State versus Bowling Green. Which is, neither one of them are military. But I'm going to have to go with San Jose State in this game, just because who is Bowling Green? Potter.
Where Urban Meyer got his start at. But I'm going to go with San Jose State in this game, if only because they are the only school in the game that is tangentially connected to the military, because their mascot is the Spartan. And a Spartan is a military unit.
It is. Hobbs, what do you got?
I'm also going with that team that Potter picked, San Jose State, because they have a number 24 beside them. And Bowling Green, I don't know what state they're in, to be honest.
Ohio. Bowling Green is in Ohio, confirmed.
No, that's false. The real Bowling Green is the team we talked about before, and that's Western.
But they did not name themselves Bowling Green, even though they're located in Bowling Green.
I didn't tell them what to name their school. I had nothing to do with that. But I did watch Bowling Green play somebody pretty good, and they got their asses handed to them. So we'll go with San Jose State.
They got the puppy.
I'm also going to have to go with San Jose State, guys. I mean, San Jose State is a lot more fun to say. It kind of rolls off the tongue, as compared to Bowling Green, kind of, bland. Right, I mean, just say it with me. San Jose, it's just excellent. Rolls off the tongue.
San Jose State.
I do have a question for Nick, though.
Due to the original content of the 4FanSports podcast, this section of audio has been removed. We would like to thank you for listening to the 4FanSports podcast Bowl Preview. We also like to thank you for your continued support of 4fansports.com. We hope you enjoy the rest of your podcast already in progress.
Brittany Griner tends to disagree.
If we wanted to up our already stellar listening audience, I'd say one way to not do that is mention women's basketball. Because the few listeners we've got are going to drop their listening.
Leave it in. Leave all of it in.
That's exactly what she said. Leave it all in.
All right. So,
even though
continuing on December 27th in Charlotte, North Carolina, is the Belk Bowl, and that is Duke versus Cincinnati. So even though it's in North Carolina, and of course Duke is going to play in the postseason in North Carolina because that just happens every year, I'm going with Cincinnati because I'm pretty sure Butch Jones is still coaching this game, and Duke sucks at football. So, Nick, you agree with me?
Well, no, I don't agree with you. I'm going to probably go with Duke because you can't spell Duke without UK. And the same analogy isn't really the same with Cincinnati because there's so many words you can spell with Cincinnati. So, Belk Bowl, Belk has 4 letters, Duke has 4 letters. I'm going to have to go with Duke.
Potter, go ahead.
All right.
I can't argue with that logic. I was actually going to pick Cincinnati before Nick made that point. So.
Well, I will disagree with both of you guys, and I'm going with Cincinnati because Duke is Duke. And,
has anyone ever been to a Belk before, by the way?
Louisville, last year.
What is in a Belk? What is a Belk? What is that?
It's what you wear around your waist to hold up your pants.
No, that's a belt. No. Belk's is like a Dillard's or a Macy's.
Wasn't Belk on a UK national championship team?
No, that's a Delk.
I believe old wooden ship.
Right.
All right, Wilson, who you got?
So me and Hans are taking Cincy, and Potter and Nick are taking Duke because it has the same amount of letters as Belk. All right. Hard-hitting journalism going on here. So, and later that night on December 27th, we have the Bridgepoint Education Holiday Bowl. Now, boys, if one of you could tell me which holiday is December 27th, I'll give you $1.
Boxing Day.
$1, please. Send it in the mail.
Boxing Day.
Boxing Day is the day after Christmas, which would be the 26th.
Facts are optional.
Facts are never optional.
Only sometimes.
All right, so in this game is number 17 UCLA versus Baylor. And Nick, you like to break down letters, so what do you got going on here?
Well, I do like education, and I do love holidays. Not sure about Bridgepoint, but as a rule, I pick against the Pac-10.
Pac-12.
Pac-12, whatever. The Pac. They don't really play very much football over there besides Oregon. They're about to be investigated, by the way. FYI, breaking a little bit ago, I saw it go across the bottom line. But I'm going to go with Baylor. I don't really see a whole lot in them. I don't really know for sure if they'll win. But if they're going to win, it might as well be against UCLA because that's who they're playing.
Well, you see, RG3 is not walking through that door. So
He's
UCLA is winning this game because, A, it's number 17 versus Baylor. And unless Brittany Griner is suiting up, they don't stand a chance because the game is in San Diego. So it's another home game.
They're playing the game in a Wales vagina.
That's a crazy home field advantage.
And UCLA is averaging 44 points a game.
Against the Pac-12.
How are they going to fit everybody in that thing? It must be a big whale.
So, Potter, who you taking?
I'm also going to go with UCLA because I like acronyms.
All right. Hobbs, who you taking?
I'm also going UCLA. California.
And we're back to fighting Nick. All right, so on December 28th, it will be my birthday. And that's the only thing that matters, so we're not going to talk about bowl games. We're going to talk about my birthday. So, December 28th, 1990, in Knoxville, Tennessee, Josh Wilson was born. And the world would never be same again.
In the same hospital as Justin Timberlake.
In the same hospital as Justin Timberlake.
American treasure Justin Timberlake.
Shout out to Justin Timberlake if you're listening to this, son.
Shout out to Justin Timberlake for getting to have...
Also on my birthday, apparently, the Advocare V100 Independence Bowl featuring Louisiana Monroe versus Ohio. But not the state kind, the green Wildcat kind. Potter, who do you have in this bowl that no one's going to watch?
Well, I mean, everybody will be celebrating your birthday that day from coast to coast. But I have to pick against Louisiana Monroe because they are the arch nemesis of podcast favorite Louisiana-Lafayette. And Ohio has a great coach in Frank Solich.
Hobbs, what do you got?
I got Louisiana Monroe because they beat two SEC teams this year. They beat Auburn, and I think they beat Arkansas without Tyler Wilson, but we're going to ignore that. And
they did beat number 8 Arkansas to start the season.
Yeah, so we're going to go with Warhawks.
And Nick?
I'm going to go on the Warhawk bandwagon as well. Louisiana Monroe takes this one probably by a few touchdowns because Ohio is really bad.
Roll Hawks.
Well, here we go. I'm taking Ohio.
Boom.
Because Ohio started out 7-0. So there's that.
Playing who?
Suck that bad.
pretty bad.
So me and Potter are rolling with Ohio, but not the state.
No, Ohio is a state. Check your map,
Yes.
man.
It's right above Kentucky and like next to Indiana. West Virginia's also there. Right
I
below
refuse to believe
Pennsylvania.
these facts. I refuse. So anyways, also during my birthday...
Named a river after it.
Also during my birthday is the Russell Athletic Bowl, featuring the Virginia Tech Hokies versus Rutgers. So I'm taking VT, and here's why. A, it's on my birthday, and VT is one of my favorite college basketball teams. I mean college football teams, because that's what we're talking about. And they won't lose on my birthday because they know how much that means to me. So discuss amongst yourself, but just know that Virginia Tech's winning that game.
Well, I'm going to go with Virginia Tech also because I tend to go against Rutgers because were in the Big East and they suck. The Big East is awful. So Virginia Tech goes.
Also going to go with Virginia Tech on this one. Frank Beamer is going to get them rolling.
All right, and Nick, who are you taking, Virginia Tech or Rutgers?
I'm going to have to go with Virginia Tech, mainly because, not to take anything away from the Big East, we know they play some quality football there, but I'm going to have to go with Virginia Tech just because I don't think the Scarlet Knights have got enough.
And then closing out on the Josh Wilson Day of bowl games is the Meineke Car Care Bowl of Texas, featuring Texas Tech versus Minnesota in Houston, Texas. So there's a lot of love for Texas in this game. So, Hobbs, who are you picking?
I'm going with Texas Tech, and let me tell you why. Because Minnesota's coach likes to have seizures on the sidelines.
Oh my.
And I don't like my coaches to have seizures on the sidelines. So Texas Tech is going to blow out Minnesota because Texas Tech scores a lot of points, and Minnesota's coach won't make it through halftime.
Breaking Texas-related news: Texas has just beaten North Carolina in college basketball, 85-67. Oh, well, a Texas team's not losing in their home state. That's not going to happen. And Minnesota's not really known for their football team, so
Tubby Smith is not walking through that door.
Tubby Smith is not coaching this game. So,
All right, Nick,
Not
are you
sure what
taking the Gophers or the whatever Texas Tech mascot is?
Red Raiders.
The only way I'm taking Minnesota in this matchup is if they're on the hockey rink, and they're not. So I'll take Texas Tech.
All right, well, we're all taking Texas Tech in the Meineke Car Care Bowl of Texas in Houston, Texas. Texas forever. Clear eyes, full hearts.
Can't lose.
Can't lose. Thanks, Hobbs. The next day, also in Texas, will be the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl, pitting against powerhouses of Rice and Air Force. It's at 11:45 in the morning. I'm pretty sure nobody's even going to be awake to watch it. So,
Well,
Nick,
I won't be.
Nick, who you taking?
Well, as you aforementioned, I will certainly not be awake to watch that game. But I'm going to need some clarification if we're talking white or fried, because I can't really make the pick without that.
Brown rice.
All right, I'll probably have to go with the brown rice then, because Air Force is pretty bad. The Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl, if all they brought is one helicopter, that's a pretty Air Force. So I guess I'm going with rice.
I'm going Air Force just because it's a military bowl and Air Force is in the military last time I checked.
Also going to go with Air Force because the key component to this game is that it is the Bell Helicopters Armed Forces Bowl, and Air Force has way more experience handling helicopters than Rice does.
Well, if you look at Air Force's logo, it's an A and an F. And featured in A and F is Armed Forces
Boom.
Bowl. So, Air Force is going to win this game before any of us are even awake that day. Seeing as we're all a Yankees fan, this is always a favorite of the year. The New Era Pinstripe Bowl, which will be taking place in Yankee Stadium. in the Bronx, New York at 3:15, and it takes down Syracuse versus West Virginia, which I don't even know how that's possible because they're in the same conference.
They aren't. West Virginia's in the Big 12.
I mean, they're not in the same conference.
But they used to be.
So, Mr. Fax, who you taking?
I'm going to go with West Virginia, just because they have a playmaker in Geno Smith. And that's important in games like this. Also, Syracuse plays in the Big East, and they were only 7-5.
I am also going to go with the Mountaineers. Didn't really get to watch Syracuse play a lot of football this year. I don't think I missed out on a lot by not seeing them play. West Virginia threw together some good games, some not so good games. If they throw together an average game, they'll probably beat Syracuse by a decent amount. So I'm going with West Virginia.
I'm also going West Virginia. I really like Geno Smith. I was hoping he'd bring home the Heisman just because he's good. And
if you like him so much, why don't you marry him?
Because I've already taken, unfortunately. Oh, wait, cut out.
Oh, that's staying in.
Cut that. But I like West Virginia, even though it's in New York, and so is Syracuse. But
did you say West Virginia was in New York?
No, I mean the game was in New York, and Syracuse.
Gotcha.
I'm also going to take West Virginia in this one because Syracuse didn't even realize they had a football team this season. But West Virginia has this guy named Geno Smith, and he can really play some football. And I feel confident in the fact that he can go into Yankee Stadium and win, and it's going to be a home run.
Cheesy.
Speaking of cheesy, the Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl is next. And we all know Kraft makes some excellent mac and cheese.
I knew exactly where he was going with that.
Me personally, I'm going to have to take Navy in this one. What do you have, Wilson?
Well, I think, me personally, since this game is on December 29th at 4 o'clock, it's going to be kicking off right when the Kentucky-Louisville basketball game is tipping off. So
no one's watching it.
I will not be watching this game.
Me either.
I will take Arizona State because it's in San Francisco, in California. You know, they have Will Sutton, who was the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. And you've got, Arizona State's defense was pretty solid. And Navy had the number 6 rushing attack. So, I mean, you're looking at a pretty solid, hard-nosed football game, actually, when you really think about it. Too bad nobody's going to watch it.
Well, Navy's going to win this one because Arizona hasn't seen an option attack this year. They're not going to be able to be prepared for it. They're not going to know, who's got the pitch man, who's got the quarterback. It's a lot of different variables that are involved in this game, and I think Navy's going to run all over them.
I'm going Arizona State because their jerseys are cool and Navy's are boring.
Right.
Okay.
Well, later that evening, though, after the UK and Louisville basketball game will be over, hopefully it doesn't go into overtime, we have the Valero Alamo Bowl featuring number 13 Oregon State versus number 23 Texas. Now, this will be a great matchup. Somehow, Texas is the away team, even though it's in San Antonio. But you've got, Oregon State, who's had a pretty solid season. They started out 6-0, and Texas started out 4-0. So if their season's ended early, they would have been undefeated, and this would be the national championship, and I'm taking Texas.
I disagree. I like Oregon State. Texas should be a whole lot better than they are with the talent that they get year in and year out. But Oregon State throws it around, and they have a lot of playmakers on the offensive side. So I'm going Oregon State because I saw Texas get reamed out by Oklahoma, and that left a pretty big mark on them, and I don't think they're any good.
The saying goes, whenever you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none, and Texas has 2 quarterbacks in David Ash and Case McCoy, who have been competing for playing time all year. It's going to cause some problems. Oregon State takes it big.
Nicholas.
Well, as I was telling you earlier, I don't think the 12-pack, Pac-12, whatever, conference plays very, very good football outside of Oregon, and occasionally USC when they're on probation and doing whatever Lane Kiffin does over there. But like you guys were talking about, Texas has just really been kind of pathetic this year. And, not Texas as of the last few years, really. I'm going to have to go Oregon State as well. Not really sure why, just kind of a gut thing, I suppose.
Telling you. Texas.
Talk about Texas's quarterback situation. I mean, one quarterback comes in and he does great. Case McCoy. I love Case McCoy, mainly because I loved his big brother. But he comes in and does a good game, and then the next game they start ash. I don't understand.
Well, to quote Mr. Ryan Potter earlier, you can't have a Texas team lose a bowl game in Texas, and that's why Texas. Well, after this, we have also in the same night at 10:15, a late one, since it's going to be in Arizona, is the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl featuring Michigan State versus the Horned Frogs of TCU. So, Nicholas, what do you think about this matchup?
I am probably going to have to go with the Horned Frogs, man. Just because, I'm not even sure if they have any Buffalo Wild Wings in Michigan, do they? Can we confirm or deny that?
I can't confirm that.
We can neither confirm nor deny that.
I don't know, just whenever I'm thinking wings, I guess frogs come to mind a little bit before Spartans to me, so I guess I'm going to have to go with the Horned Frogs, man. That's all I can really...
In that same line of thinking, I think that Horned Frogs are better equipped to deal with the spiciness of Buffalo Wild Wings because they emit poison themselves, so I think that they'd be able to deal with the spiciness a little bit better than the Spartans, who didn't have that many spices back in their time.
Yeah, I'm also going with TCU just because they're in Texas, and Michigan State kind of disappointed this year. They have a great running back though.
I think this is going to be a pretty good game just because you look at what their seasons were. They were both in the top 20 when the season started. Michigan State finished with number 4 in total defense, and TCU finished 18th. So I think it's going to be a defensive battle, but I'm actually going to go against you guys and say that Michigan State wins this one.
Fair enough.
Fine.
All right, so next we have a bowl that we're all familiar with. It is sponsored by different people this time, so that sounds weird when I get ready to say this. Also, I want to preface this with the fact that just because we pick who we're getting ready to pick does not make us SEC homers, and we love both teams that are in this game equally. So we have the Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl in Nashville, Tennessee on December 31st, featuring Vanderbilt versus North Carolina State. Now, Hobbs, you wrote an article about North Carolina State, so why don't you go ahead and break this game down for us?
Well, I actually know more about Vandy, but I would have picked Vandy had that guy not hurt my feelings and said that he thought I was a homer. So I'm going NC State, even though Vandy's head coach's last name is Franklin, and Franklin is in the name of the bowl. But I'm going NC State because that guy was a big meanie.
All right, and Potter?
I once visited Vanderbilt and almost went to school there, and I thought it was a really nice campus. And they've been doing a really good job, James Franklin, reviving the program there. So I think Vanderbilt's going to beat NC State just because that guy was a jerk.
And Nicholas, who do you got?
I am also going to have to go with Vanderbilt. Never going to pull for NC State for anything in my life again. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't know. I just feel like Vandy's had a few more tests maybe than NC State this year. Maybe the season's gotten them better equipped for this bowl game. It's in Nashville, Tennessee. That can't help or can't hurt. So I'm going with Vandy.
I think this is probably going to be another good game. You've got Vandy and NC State who both had pretty decent seasons. NC State looked pretty hot for a little while this season. I think, however, with having their interim head coach coaching them for the game, and you've got Vandy who's basically playing at home. It's in Nashville. I got to go with Vandy on this game just because it's a home game. Now, I will say this: since North Carolina is so close to Tennessee, we'll probably see some NC State fans travel for it, but I got to go with Vandy on this one.
All right, moving on.
After that, we have the Hyundai Sun Bowl, which is Georgia Tech versus USC in El Paso, Texas. I'm going to have to go ahead and say that Georgia Tech gets their first bowl win under Coach Paul Johnson versus USC. Just because, Georgia Tech's gone through a lot to get to this point. I mean, they were 6-7 on the season, and they had to go and file a waiver to the NCAA just to get into the bowl. And I feel like if you got to work that hard to get in the bowl, you're probably not going to lose. So, Potter, what do you think?
Well, I hate to pick against a team that runs the option. That's an offense after my own heart. But I think the talent of the depth chart of USC is going to win the day. You know what? I don't care. I'm picking Georgia Tech. I love the option.
All right, there we go.
I'm going to go with USC. Not going to switch it like Potter just did, but I really am going to go with USC. They came in with high hopes for the season. Kind of dwindled as the season went on. Still got a decent squad. I think they underperformed a little bit. I don't think they're going to lose to the 6-7 Georgia Tech team. I just really don't.
I'm also going to pick USC. I think they are going to struggle against the option because their defense is awful. But I'm not a big fan of Matt Barkley either, but I think they're going to find a way to win because they're USC, they're more talented, and that's going to show.
Well, speaking of awful, we have the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, which is Tulsa versus Iowa State. And first of all, can someone tell me why Tulsa has hurricane flags in their logo and they're located in Oklahoma, which typically does not see many hurricanes?
Not even real close to water at all. Not even a lake near it.
There's not much water-based natural disasters going on in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Doesn't even rain real hard.
Kentucky does.
But, Potter, who you got? Iowa State or Tulsa?
I'm going to go with Tulsa because any team ballsy enough to have a nickname that doesn't make sense has to be pretty good.
Hobbs, what do you think?
I'm going Iowa State because they're the Cyclones, and that doesn't really make sense either.
They have tornadoes in Iowa, man. It's the Midwest. What's your problem?
That's a good point, though. Cyclones don't really make a whole lot of sense when they have a Cardinal as the mascot.
Exactly.
But also, yeah. But the Cardinal's name is Cy, so it makes sense.
Nick, who do you got in this mix-up mashup of mascots?
I'm going to probably have to go with Iowa State. I think I recall Tulsa getting their butts kicked a few times this year. And plus, I mean, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, when you think of Liberty, what else do you think of besides the great state of Iowa? That's all. I mean, really, Iowa State over Tulsa. I think it's going to be a pretty big blowout. I really do feel like I've watched Tulsa get their butts kicked several times this year.
Well, this year Tulsa won the Big East, the Conference USA Championship. So they are going to lose though to Iowa State in the matchup of weird mascots that don't make any sense.
Well, they've already played once this season, and Iowa State beat them 38-23 on September 1st. A rare bowl rematch.
Well, I don't see them beating Iowa State's winning. All right, so a great game though. Right before we leave the year of 2012 and enter into uncertainty of 2013, is the Chick-fil-A Bowl featuring LSU versus Clemson. This game is going to be ridiculous, and I am dubbing it as Tiger Fight. So, Potter, who wins Tiger Fight?
Taj Boyd is going to lead Clemson to victory. He is Clemson's quarterback. He's amazing. He probably should have won the Heisman. If it wasn't for Jonathan Football, he probably would have.
I'm going the opposite, and I'm going LSU. I think their defense is going to hurt Mr. Taj Boyd and Sammy Watkins, though I do like Sammy Watkins. That little bastard is fast. But I think LSU's defense, unless Miles gets it done.
Nick, what you got?
I'm going to keep the LSU train rolling. Really, I should have just picked the Tigers because you can't really go wrong with that pick. But I'm going to go with the LSU variety just because I I feel like the Bayou Bengals are going to have to have way too much on the defensive side for Clemson to combat. And LSU's not too bad offensively. I guess they'll probably score enough points to get the victory.
Well, I think this is going to be a great game. You have LSU's defense, which has been great. You've got Clemson's offense, which has also been great. So you have that matchup that Hobbs said he wanted with a high-tiered defense versus a high-tiered offense. I think it's going to be LSU in the end because, I'll be honest, I like LSU. It's the only SEC school I would have gone to besides Kentucky. So, Tiger Fight champion, LSU and Les Miles. So, Potter's the only one taking Clemson there.
That's fine, man. I'm okay with that.
Now, starting off in 2013, we have the TaxSlayer.com Gator Bowl, which doesn't make any sense at all, but it's in Jacksonville, Florida, and it's Northwestern versus Mississippi State. I'm going to have to go ahead and say that Northwestern wins this game. They've been pretty solid all season. Mississippi State's not the best team in the world. They have, however, ranked 5th in turnovers on the season, and Northwestern actually has ranked 10th in turnovers on the season. So it's going to be a disciplined game of football. We can guarantee that, but I just think Northwestern and the Wildcats beat Mississippi State. Potter, what do you think?
Well, you're missing the point on this whole game. It's the TaxSlayer.com Gator Bowl. All right, Northwestern is in Chicago. That's a liberal state. A little bit more for higher taxes. Mississippi, a very, very conservative state, very anti-tax. I think they would enjoy slaying taxes more than the Northwestern team, so I'm going to go with Mississippi State here.
That might have been the best breakdown of a bowl game in the history of ever.
Not yet, because I'm gonna overdo them.
Well,
I think that it's gonna be a couple of wits, and I think that Northwestern is a bunch of white nerdy dudes, and they're gonna concoct some sort of mathematical equation to take down Mississippi State. Mississippi State is not going to be able to keep up because Mississippi is an overwhelmingly stupid state.
They really are, to be honest.
Oh, man, you guys are very mean today, but I'm going to go with Mississippi State. I don't think Northwestern starts out their new year with a win. All the tax-slaying nonsense, I think you left out the most important part of the title, and that's Gator Bowl. And neither of these teams really have any Gators as far as I'm aware of. So, I guess Mississippi's close to where the Gators are. We'll go with them.
All right, well, there we go.
When in doubt, go with the SEC, man.
Right.
So after that, we have the Heart of Dallas Bowl. Actually, I think they're going to be playing at the same time. The Heart of Dallas Bowl, which is located in Austin, Texas. Just kidding. It's in Dallas, Texas. And it's going to be Oklahoma State versus Purdue. So, Nicholas, tell me who wins this game.
Gut tells me to go with Oklahoma State, but I'm going to have to go with Purdue because no one in Dallas named the Cowboys are very good, so I'm going to go with Purdue.
Hobbs, your rebuttal on nobody in Dallas named Cowboys are very good.
We'll see you in the playoffs, man.
We might.
All
Our
right.
Elks might make it.
Also, Hobbs, you want to give us a pick on the game?
We'll go with Oklahoma State because they're men, they're 40, and Purdue is not very good.
He's got to be closer to 50 now, don't he?
High-powered offense, and I'm going with them.
Potter, you have a P in your first name, and so does Purdue, so you just go ahead and take it.
Well, I'm going to take Purdue, but for a different reason. Heart of Dallas reminds me of the Joseph Conrad novel Heart of Darkness. And I think that Purdue's students are more likely to have read Heart of Darkness because they have higher academic standards. So I'm going to go with Purdue.
Oklahoma State has a high GPA.
But Purdue is a very, very famous engineering school. Those kids are smart.
Smart kids aren't good at football.
I think the Heart of Dallas Bowl sounds to me like a soap opera with the Heart of Dallas. But actually, this is going to be a drama-filled game because Oklahoma State did lose its last 2 games coming off of injuries, and Purdue just fired their head coach. So there's a lot of drama going on the sidelines here. And I'm going to have to end up taking Oklahoma State because if you just fired your head coach, you're not going to have anywhere to really look for leadership. So I'm going with Oklahoma State.
Attaboy Wilson.
The next great game on January 1st in Tampa, Florida will be the Outback Bowl featuring South Carolina versus Michigan. Now this is going to be awesome. And Denard Robinson is from Florida, and so this is going to be kind of cool for him because he's from Florida and he's going to be playing in Florida. So that's cool. But I haven't made my pick yet, so Hobbs, you take your pick.
All right, I'm going with the opposite of Michigan, and I'm going with South Carolina. I think Clowney is going to be all over Michigan. Michigan looked pretty pathetic against SEC competition whenever they got spanked by Alabama in the season opener this year. And I think Michigan's a little banged up. Denard Robinson is highly overrated, I believe. And I think South Carolina's going to get it done with Connor Shaw throwing the pigskin around.
Nicholas?
Yeah, I think South Carolina's going to take Michigan out back in the Outback Bowl. I really don't think they have a chance. Michigan's had a few different chances to show us what they're made of, and they've just kind of shown us what they're made of. So I'm going to go with South Carolina and probably a blowout.
Potter?
South Carolina 70, Michigan 24.
6.
All right. Well, even though this is Denard Robinson's homecoming, I'm also going to take South Carolina as much as it pains me because I hate their coach with a passion that burns so bright in me it can be seen from outer space. So yeah, I hate South Carolina's coach with passion. But South Carolina's going to win this game because South Carolina was a really good football team this season, and Michigan was an okay football team this season. I think it'll be a good game, but I think South Carolina takes it. Also, happening at the exact same time, on the exact same day, literally 60 miles down the road in Orlando, Florida, is the Capital One Bowl featuring Georgia versus Nebraska. Another outstanding game.
There's an argument to be made that Georgia is the second best team in the country. And they gave Alabama a pretty good run for their money. I don't think that Nebraska can compete with them, so I'm going to go with Georgia.
Nick?
I'm going to also go with Georgia, man. Apparently Nebraska's got a pretty good squad. I really haven't had the opportunity to get them to watch them play very much this year, if at all. I don't really recall watching them at all. But I have seen Georgia, and they look pretty impressive. So I'm also going to go with them, like I said. Probably going to be a good game, though. Most the BCS games are usually at least pretty close, besides the one in New Orleans, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But I'm going to also go with Georgia.
I'm also going with Georgia, make it 3-3. I saw Nebraska get completely murdered by Wisconsin in the championship game, and I don't think they're going to be able to bounce back from that. Taylor Martinez is fast, but he's kind of a turnover machine. So I think Georgia's going to capitalize, and like Monty Ball did, I think Georgia's running backs will run all over them.
I think Aaron Murray and the Dogs walk away with a victory this day, and I think it'll be a really great game. But Georgia ultimately is going to win that just because Georgia probably still has a chip on their shoulder from the SEC championship, and the whole Georgia situation really brings in the debate, for the playoff system that we absolutely and desperately need this year in college football, but we're not going to.
One of the biggest blowouts of the entire bowl series, for the record. I think Nebraska is going to be one of the biggest blowouts of the entire bowl season.
Why is that?
It's going to completely kill them because Georgia does have kind of a chip on their shoulder for being, they have, like Potter said, I think they are the case can be made for them being the second best team in the country, and I for one think they are, except for Ohio State, baby.
All right.
Moving on.
We have another January 1st tradition, which is the Rose Bowl. It's going to be number 6 Stanford versus Wisconsin. So, Hobbs, who you taking on this one?
I'm going with Stanford. Wisconsin finished third in their division in the Big Ten, so I don't think they're that good, even though they, like I said just a second ago, they killed Nebraska. So I'm going with Stanford. I think they look good. They're the only team that beat Oregon this year, and that's impressive. So go Stanford.
Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, man, I'm going to have to take Stanford as well. I think they've got too much on both sides of the ball for Wisconsin. I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up. I'm not taking anything away from them. They have a good squad. They had a great year. I just think Stanford's got a little bit better of a football team. Like Hobbs touched on, they did beat Oregon, which is damn hard to do anymore. So props for them for that. Besides those two, like I kind of bashed the Pac-10 and Pac-12 earlier. But, Stanford does play some pretty good football.
Potter?
I'm going to surprise you guys, but I really think Wisconsin's going to win this one. And they have a talented team on both sides of the ball. They underperformed a little bit this year, but that is more coaching than anything. And what do you know? They have one of the legendary figures in that school's history coming back to coach them in that game, in Barry Alvarez. Monty Ball's going to run all over the place, and Wisconsin's going to shut Stanford down.
I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with you, Potter, and join sides with Nick and Hobbs on this one. Stanford's probably going to win this game because Wisconsin wasn't even the best team in their division, and they weren't even the second best team in their division. Due to NCAA sanctions, Ohio State and Penn State weren't eligible, and Wisconsin kind of sort of got away on a cheap shot, basically. I think mixed with that, there will be some excitement around Barry Alvarez coming back to coach for him, but not enough excitement to power him past the mighty trees of Stanford. So later that evening, also at 8:30, in our key matchup that night, we have the Discover Orange Bowl, which will be in Miami, Florida, and it will take Florida State versus Northern Illinois. Now, this looks like a pretty good matchup in the book. We have number 12 versus number 15. And to say the least, Northern Illinois is the underdog of the BCS bowl games this season, and everybody was real upset when they got into this one. But I think an interesting thing in this is you got to remember Florida State is playing in Florida, so I'm taking Florida State to whoa all over the Huskies. Hobbs, what do you think?
I agree, except for the whoa thing. I think Florida State, as much as I would like for Northern Illinois to win because I love a good upset, like Boise State a few years back against Oklahoma. But I'm going to have to go with Florida State as well. E.J. Manuel is a good quarterback, and I think he gets it done against Northern Illinois pretty convincingly.
Florida State, Northern Illinois doesn't even belong in this game.
All right, Nick?
Yeah, man, I'm going to have to go with the Cinnamon Rolls as well. Like Potter said, Northern Illinois has no place here.
Cinnamon Rolls is a throwback. All right, so we've got on January 2nd at 8:30, we have the All-State Sugar Bowl featuring Florida versus Louisville. And here's what I hope happens in this game. They both just, fall to their deaths. That's going to be my key matchup in this game, is these two teams versus a natural disaster that I hope takes them both away. But in all seriousness, Florida has been crazy good this season, and they've been crazy good without Tim Tebow, so it's real. And I have to take Florida over Louisville, even though, Louisville's got a pretty great quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, and I'm going to get called a homer for this. I'm taking Chomp over Card Strong. Nick, what do you got?
I'm going to have to agree with you. I doubt Teddy's going to be 100%. That's unfortunate because he really has had a spectacular season, been fun to watch against the high school teams that they've been playing. But I think that Florida really steps it up a notch after a month off to prepare. They just got too much speed on both sides of the ball for Louisville to compete. if Strong's got them definitely moving in the right direction, though. So, I mean, they've got a good squad, had a great season, deserve a chance, I guess, to play in a BCS game, supposedly, but Florida's going to roll all over them.
Hobbs, what do you think?
This is actually a fairly intriguing matchup when you think about it. Louisville's offense is pretty great, like everyone else has tested to. Teddy Bridgewater is awesome. I mean, he's a great quarterback. And Florida's strength is their defense, and Louisville's is their offense, so they're going to go against each other, and their weaknesses, Florida's offense and Louisville's defense, are matching up better. So I think Florida's going to win because I think their offense is slightly better than their defense, and I think Florida's defense and Louisville's offense kind of cancel each other out. So I'm going with Florida.
And Potter?
This game isn't even going to be close. Florida's got way too many athletes. Those Florida boys are fast. Any team that gives up 45 points to Syracuse is in for a world of trouble going up against a team like Florida. Florida's going to win by 60 points.
Oh, my gracious.
I don't know if they'll win by 60, but that was a great point. They need to give up 45 points to a team who's playing in the Pinstripe Bowl. So, I mean, now we have another great game, possibly, I'd even say, the second best game outside of the national championship in the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl on January 3rd, pitting against number 4 Oregon and number 5 Kansas State. Now, Potter, we all know how much you love Kansas State, so break this one down for us.
Colin Klein, my friends. Colin Klein will not be denied. Kansas State 45, Oregon 43.
I'm going with Oregon. I love this matchup. It's probably going to be my second favorite bowl to watch other than Florida beating Louisville, and then third favorite after the national championship game. But the offenses are going to collide. There's going to be a lot of points scored. Hopefully they combine for more than 100. And I'm going to go with Oregon just because I think Colin Klein's a tad bit overrated. He's a great quarterback, but he doesn't really have a whole lot of help, so it's Colin Klein against all of Oregon's athletes, and I think Oregon gets it done. So, Nick, what do you think?
I'm going to have to go with Oregon as well. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to go as far as to say that Colin Klein's overrated, but he definitely sounds more like a fashion company than a football player. They've been playing some pretty good football in Little Apple this year, though, so I'm not taking anything away from them. I just don't think they can keep up with Oregon, man. They're just fast. They make fast people look not so fast.
Well, I'm also going to go with Oregon on this one in what might be Chip Kelly's last game as head coach of the Oregon Ducks, as we've already discussed in the last podcast. I think also Oregon wins this game, and Chip Kelly's pretty much as good as gone. I gotta go kind of with what Hobbs said. Colin Klein, I think, is a little overrated, as do I think Kansas State might also be a little overrated. So I'm going with Oregon for sure winning this game. So after that, we have definitely what is going to be my probably second favorite matchup this season, and it's going to be the AT&T Cotton Bowl in Arlington, Texas, pitting against Oklahoma and Johnny Football and the Texas A&M Aggies. So, Hobbs, I know how much you love Johnny Football's nickname, so tell me what we got here.
I like Oklahoma. I like Landry Jones. I think he's a better quarterback than Johnny Manziel. Bold statement. I think he has a better future in the NFL. And Oklahoma's defense is going to swarm him. And he's not going to be able to scramble away from 3 defensive linemen. He's going to go down. He's going to go down hard. And that's what's going to happen. Because I can't stand this Johnny Football crap anymore. Maybe play volleyball or something.
That's a tough question. This really is a good matchup. Both really good teams, pretty evenly matched. I just don't think Texas A&M is going to put forth the effort that they did to beat Alabama in this bowl game for some reason. So I think I'm going to unfortunately have to go with Hobbs and go with Oklahoma. They got a really good defense this year, which really isn't usually their calling card. Not to take anything away from their offense, which is also potent. But I think they've got just a little bit too much for Johnny to keep up with in this game.
I think Johnny American football has been really good this season, but I don't think that his team is as good as Oklahoma, in my opinion.
Well, here's what I have to say about that. You're all wrong. Texas A&M is going to win this game. Johnny Heisman winning football is going to have an outstanding first bowl game because you got to remember this is his first bowl game, and we're going to get to watch him play for at least 2 more years, and I dare I say 2 more bowl games. Well, here's the thing. These offensives are great. Both of them are averaging over 500 yards a game. Both of them are averaging over 40 points a game. So basically, we've got a shootout out here in Arlington, Texas. And like I said, I'm going with Texas A&M because I love Johnny football almost as much as Potter loves Mike Trout.
That's not true.
Now,
My love for Mike Trout surpasses all.
Now, here's the weird thing that we've got. We've got all these great games, and then on the 5th and 6th, we have 2 real poopers before we get to the national championship. The first pooper is the BBVA Compass Bowl, pitting against Pitt and Ole Miss. And I'm going to say Pitt for some reason, and I don't really care who wins. Potter.
I'm going to say Pitt as well because, I don't know, guys. I'm not watching this game. I could care less.
Nick.
Well, I don't think either of these teams know how to use a compass, and Pitt is pretty bad, so I'm going to go with them losing. Who's the other team? Ole Miss. I'm going Ole Miss. Pitt's pretty bad, man.
Oh, goodness. I'm going Ole Miss as well.
All right.
Because of whatever Nick said.
Second poop game before the national championship is the GoDaddy.com Bowl, pitting number 25 Kent State versus Arkansas State in a matchup of states. Hobbs, which state makes a statement?
Well, I'm going to go with Kent State because that's the only team that we beat that's in a bowl. And they got to do us justice, I guess. Kent State looked pretty good, except for when that one guy ran the punt the opposite direction. I think they've been practicing that, so they're going to start returning the punts in the right direction and get it done.
Nick, who you got?
I'm going Kent State too, man. All the things Hobbs said made a whole bunch of sense and sounded really nice. But the main thing, really, I mean, with the GoDaddy.com Bowl, we can all agree on is the most visually stimulating thing for the whole game is going to be the commercials. Hopefully they got Danica Patrick in some type of nice outfit.
Potter.
I'm going to go with Arkansas State in this game because Kent is not an actual state. Kentucky is a state, but Kent State is...
I'm going with Potter. Kent State is not a real state. However, Arkansas State sounds like a crappy team, so I'm changing my mind, and I'm going with Hobbs and Nick, and Kent State's going to win the game, and nobody will care. All right, so we have made our way to the BCS National Championship. We've all kind of touched on it at some point. So, I mean, let's just go ahead and talk about it for a little bit. Notre Dame versus Alabama. Potter, do you still think that Notre Dame is going to win this game?
I believe.
All right. And everybody else still thinks that the Tide is going to roll, correct?
Correct.
That would be correct.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been our first ever 4FanSports postseason special podcast. This is our Bowl Pick'em podcast. We want to thank you all for listening. We will put together at some point an article which recaps all of our picks. We'd also like for you all to join in the fun and pick them. Whoever gets the most correct will get a prize. I'm not sure what that prize will be, and I don't know how we'll monitor that. But go ahead and pick them with us, and we'll see who wins that competition. So for 4FanSports.com, Tyler Hobbs, Nick Rapier, and Ryan Potter, I'm Josh Wilson. And keep moving forward.
The anger sharks are swimming in my head.